Imagine a man so wealthy he could buy a kingdom, dying of hunger at his own banquet table. His cellars groan under the weight of pure silver. His ships once blackened the horizon, dragging entire continents of treasure across the violent Atlantic. He can purchase armies, silence kings, and commission cathedrals that pierce the heavens. And yet, his stomach is empty. His fields lie fallow. His daily bread costs more than his grandfather's estate once did. This is not a fable. This is not a dark fairy tale invented to frighten greedy children. This happened. It happened to an entire empire. This is the story of how Spain discovered the largest fortune in human history and used it to starve itself into ruin. It is the story of the Great Gold Illusion. High in the Bolivian Andes, in the year 1545, the Spanish found a mountain that bled silver. They called it Cerro Rico, the rich hill. The indigenous people who were forced into its lightless depths called it something else, the mountain that eats men. Beneath its jagged peak lay one of the richest deposits of silver the world has ever known. It was an anomaly of geology, a geological vault waiting to be cracked open. Within a few short decades, the city built at its base, Potosí, became a metropolis of extreme altitudes and extreme desires. It grew larger than London, larger than Paris or Madrid. For over 2 centuries, an unbroken, glittering river of silver flowed from the veins of this mountain, straight into the holds of Spanish galleons. It crossed a perilous ocean. It flooded the stone treasuries of Seville. The ore became coin. The coin became global currency, and the currency birthed the deadliest illusion of the modern age, the idea of infinite wealth. In Madrid, the throne room glittered, not with the slow, quiet work of farmers or the ingenuity of builders, but with the dust of a mountain on the other side of the world. Spain did not actually discover wealth in the Americas. Spain discovered the idea of wealth. And like a man dying of thirst who drinks seawater, they fell in love with the idea more than the thing itself. Here is the cruel arithmetic that economists and historians now call the price revolution. When the amount of money in a closed system violently multiplies, but the amount of actual things, the wheat, the wool, the labor, stays the same, reality begins to warp. The new coins do not magically create more bread. They simply make each coin worth less bread. Spain flooded its own desert. Between 1500 and 1650, prices across the Spanish Empire rose by 400%. A loaf of bread became a luxury. It happened because the symbol of wealth flooded the streets faster than the substance of wealth could ever be grown from the earth. And so, quietly, something even stranger happened. Farmers simply stopped farming. Why break your back toiling over the soil for a harvest that is worth less each season, when infinite fortunes seem to arrive on ships every month? Spanish agriculture withered and died. The workshops of Toledo and Segovia emptied out. The incentive to create actual value was destroyed by the sheer abundance of money. The nation that held more silver than any civilization was forced to import its own bread, cloth, and tools. Gold became abundant, and in becoming abundant, it became weightless. True wealth, the things that sustain a body, vanished. It was replaced by a glittering symbol that could not be eaten or planted in the spring. Picture the grand manor houses of Castile. Nobles walked the halls dressed in fine silk, their pockets heavy with silver. And yet, behind the walls of their crumbling estates, many of these aristocratic families went to bed hungry. Bread riots broke out in the very streets of cities that were sitting atop the largest silver reserves in the world. The Spanish crown, drunk on the illusion of endless silver, began fighting massive, unwinnable wars. To fund these, the king borrowed heavily from foreign bankers, promising them silver that hadn't even been mined yet. The result was a catastrophic collapse. The richest superpower on Earth defaulted on its debt 4 separate times within a single century. This is the psychological horror at the center of our story. To hold a mountain of treasure and still feel the sharp pain of hunger. Gold cannot be eaten. Silver cannot be planted. An empire is not sustained by what glitters in a dark vault, but by what grows in a sunlit field, what is built with human hands, and what is created through labor and care. Spain forgot this fundamental law of reality, and reality did not forgive the forgetting. We look back and we tell ourselves this could never happen to us. But pause and ask yourself a dangerous question. What is money really today? It is merely a pixelated number on a glass screen. We trade the finite hours of our existence, our time, our youth, our health, to accumulate digital symbols while forgetting to build a life of substance. Modern economies print currency the way Spain once mined silver. We summon money from the void, multiplying the symbol endlessly, while the real foundations of value remain achingly finite. Perhaps the deepest lesson buried beneath the ruins of the Spanish Empire is this: the wealth was never the gold. Wealth was always the field that was tended. It was the craft that was mastered. It was the bread baked, the shelter built, the bond of trust forged between neighbors who create something real together. Gold was only ever a mirror, and Spain, gazing far too long into that mirror, mistook its own reflection for a world it had completely forgotten to build. The mountain of Cerro Rico stands as a silent monument to an empire that forgot the substance and starved on a mountain of its own treasure. The question for us today is not whether this illusion could happen again. It is whether, even now, it already has.